Hey guys, welcome to my new movie review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new Disney animated feature called Zootopia. And in this film, it's about a police officer bunny who lives in a city of these animals that they're all predators and preys, or at least that's how we would view them in the modern day. And they've all kind of view each other as equals now. They're really not at each other's throats in nature like they used to be. And so they kind of become anthropomorphic, so they're more like more like people now. And so they build this city called Zootopia, where the predators and the prey can now live together as equals. They can pursue jobs like people can. They basically live what people live in reality in this city. And so this little bunny who's always wanted to be a police officer finally gets these recognition and this promotion opportunity that she's been looking for a while, because she's a bunny and because all these other police officers in this city are like bigger animals like oxes and elephants and polar bears. She's really kind of the only animal in this police force that's a really small animal, so she doesn't really get the promotion opportunities that would normally happen as quickly for the other animals as she would. And so she gets this opportunity to find this missing otter. And through a series of events, she's able to team up with this fox played by Jason Bateman. And he's kind of a criminal. He's kind of doing things in the city that aren't really viewed as legal. And through a series of events, she's able to convince him to help solve this case since he knows a lot about this animal that's missing. And so the two of them help each other solve the case. And we learn more about this fox that really doesn't meet the eye at first. He's not just a criminal. I mean, he's there's a reason why the way he is, and we find that throughout the course of the movie. And so throughout the movie, we figure out where this case takes us, how the case kind of links into Zootopia, and how that managed to work out with predators and prey living together, and how there could be a slight opportunity that maybe Zootopia isn't all that's cracked up to be if this thing gets out of hand through this case that this bunny takes on. So overall, guys, I really like Zootopia. As you can see, it's a very complex idea. I think a lot of kids might be a little too overwhelmed with all the ideas that this film has around it. But it's a very good movie. This is a very well made Disney animated feature that has a lot to say about like stereotypes, and there's even some slight coding of racism every once in a while, and how it's important that we view each other as equals and that we're all in this case they were animals, but in real life they'd be people, and how, we can't just label things just for the sake of labeling them. There's actual details as to why things are the way they are, how, this Jason Bateman Fox is not just a criminal. I mean, there's an actual story as to why he is the way he is and why he kind of lost faith with other animals and all that kind of stuff. So this film has a lot to say about a lot of things, and I think that's just something about the movie that's just really interesting and really, really unique. Is it's a kids film that really at heart is an adult film with mature themes that are told in a very PG appropriate way, that the kids will still enjoy it as this animal movie, but the adults will enjoy it as a film that just has a lot to say about society and how we shouldn't stereotype things. We shouldn't just label things just to make it easier on ourselves or to blame a problem that we had in our past. There really is a reason for everything the way that it is. So overall, guys, for the positives and negatives of Zootopia, um, one thing I had a really huge positive with this movie was the fantastic voice acting. This had some great voice acting in it. Jason Bateman, I loved what he did with this character. Definitely, I would say probably the best Jason Bateman role we've probably ever gotten from him, just because, he only had his voice to portray this character with. And this character was so dimensional, and they really develop his character really well. And it's just the way he did the voice acting, and this was really believable. And even with Ginnifer Goodwin, who is the police officer bunny, the way that she's portrayed is just really well done. They did a great job directing the voice acting in this movie. Just a terrific job for everybody. The animation of this is also really well made. It's also kind of a photorealistic look of this stuff. I mean, the city actually looks like a city. The farms look like farms and stuff. There's some scenes in this movie that almost look photorealistic to things you would see in a real life, like a carrot farm and all that other stuff. I mean, it looks really, really good. The way that they animated this movie was just really impressive. And then that goes back to my other positive of the movie is it's a very mature and original story. I think, at first people might just view this as, just another, animals living like people kind of a movie, but it really is a quite mature way of telling a story like this and, really just going after the whole, like we shouldn't stereotype everything. It's just a very mature and original story, and I really like what Disney did here with it. I also thought the film had great character development. Judy Hopps is the name of the police officer bunny. Very well made character. You could definitely see why she is the way she is throughout the movie. The Nick Wilde's fox, played by Jason Bateman, very good developed character, very three dimensional. Even the smaller characters like Flash the Sloth at the DMV, he's only in the movie for like 2 scenes, but we learn so much about him, and we learn, there's reasons why these characters exist and why they're in certain places, why they're in certain jobs, while the comedy comes from a slow moving sloth driving a fast moving car, really funny stuff like that. Just really good character development in this movie. Michael Giacchino, who's known for scoring a lot of J.J. Abrams movies, he has a musical score that was made for this movie. Very, very good, very well incorporated into all the scenes in the movie. Just a very good score. It's very catchy themes and songs in this movie. Shakira made a song for this movie as well called Try Everything. I have a feeling it might be up for Best Original Song at next year's Oscar Awards. It's just a very good score, very good song from Shakira, who also has a voice role in this movie as this like deer creature thing. But very good musical score, very well made by Michael Giacchino. This is also a very fun and imaginative movie. They had a lot of fun showing like what Starbucks would look like as an animal advertisement. And there's a scene where they catch like a bootlegger movie copy salesman guy who's selling like these like bootleg copies of Disney movies, and they have like animals incorporated into them. Like Wreck-It Ralph is a different animal, and they have instead of Tangled, it's Wrangled, and all that kind of stuff. And just a very fun and imaginative movie that you can definitely tell they had a lot of fun making it, and that's always a cool thing to see. And once again, the film does have very light coatings of about racism. It's portrayed in a very safe, PG way. I would definitely say it's more so with the bunnies and the foxes how they're portrayed in this movie. But the messages on stereotypes, all that's forgiven when it really has a good point about not the stereotype things in real life and everything like that. So just really strong messages in this movie. Very well done by Disney. I also like how this film, you almost kind of forget that it's an animated film. It has a kind of a neat little live action feeling. Like we kind of view these animals as people after a while, just because they're so well developed and they're so well rounded, and the scenes look so believable at times. There's even a scene with a train here in the movie that almost looks like it came off of a live action movie. It's really well made. It looks very, very good. So it just has a great live action feeling for this movie. For my negatives of Zootopia, and they're very, very nitpicky, I would say. One of them's even probably a theater problem I ran into when I went to the theater to go see this movie. To me, one negative I had was the movie audio in this movie felt very soft. It felt very almost as if people complained about the last Disney movie being too loud. So they took that criticism too far by making this movie really soft in volume. At least, and maybe in the theater I was in, it felt that way. Even the trailers before this movie were very soft in its volume. So I don't know if that was just a theater thing that they did, or if it was a choice on Disney's behalf to make it a very small in volume kind of a audio for this movie. But whatever they did, they felt very soft. There's almost kind of scenes where you kind of have to put your ear up to the screen just to make sure you're listening to everything correctly. My other negative with the movies, I thought there could have been more jokes for kids. I think there's a lot of humor in this film that's really fun for adults. A lot of adults are really going to catch some of the really kind of secretively darker kind of humor, I guess you could call it. Like kids aren't going to know that a little mouse with a Marlon Brando voice is supposed to be Marlon Brando from The Godfather. Like they're not going to catch on to that. Or there's Tommy Chong has a role in this movie too as this like druggy yak kind of character, very much kind of making fun of stoners, and once again doing it in a very don't stereotype people kind of way. But a lot of kids aren't going to catch that yak is supposed to be like a stoner human being if that was a real person and stuff. And there's just a lot of jokes in this movie that I think are really going to go over a lot of kids' heads. There's like a nude club scene in this movie that they use like these hippos and stuff, and they're like very free with how they feel about things. A lot of kids are not going to have any clue of what that's about. But once, if you're an adult, obviously you're going to catch on to that really quickly. But just a lot of jokes in this movie. Like, I think the thing with like the DMV being too slow, I think maybe some kids might catch that, but there's a lot of jokes here where they're definitely more aimed for the adults, which is perfectly cool. It made it more fun for myself and every other adult who was in the theater. But there's just some jokes here that I don't think some kids are really going to get, and I think that's kind of too bad. I think films like Wreck-It Ralph and all that kind of stuff have jokes that the kids can understand pretty well. So for me personally, I thought this film could have used more jokes for the kids. There's also some generic story structure elements to this movie. The character, the protagonist of the movie rises and then she falls, and then she finds this really hokey way to rise to her career again, and then she falls again. And there's just certain elements of this movie that felt generic as far as how the story was structured. And I think Disney could have broken the rules a little bit to really tell a really, truly original story here. But unfortunately, some of those story elements fall into the generic kind of story structure for a Disney movie. But overall, I'm going to give Zootopia a 9 out of 10. This is a very well made movie, like I said. Great voice acting, great animation, great character development, great musical score, great imaginative feelings for this movie, a great message about not to stereotype things. But like I said, some of the audio could have been a little bit louder. I think some of the volume felt off on this movie. I thought there could have been more jokes for kids since there's a lot of adult humor in the movie. And some of the story structure elements felt a little generic to me. Would have preferred something that could have broke the rules a little bit. So 9 out of 10. Very well made Disney animated feature. Probably one of the better films we've gotten in 2016. I know we're still pretty early on into the movie year, but this is a very strong year so far. We have this and Deadpool so far, and they're both very good movies. So 9 out of 10. Be sure to see this one. It's just a really well made Disney movie.